I've been thinking, not a lot about hip-hop, but
No?
I guess I feel like maybe I've been sugarcoating the stuff. So let me cut to the chase. So Kyle Shanahan, I think he's a good coach. I think he's a real good coach. Obviously, bright mind. I think he's got some question marks, some weaknesses. I'm not sure how his relationship is with players. Maybe his personality to his players is off-putting. All that kind of stuff. Okay, but we've been here 6 years, and here's what I challenge you, Kyle Shanahan, non-believers or dislikers. How many of you out there actually think you see something in Kyle Shanahan, that you've seen something in his 6 years here, where you can say, oh, they're not going to win it with Shanahan. Oh, they can't win it all with Shanahan. I mean, it feels like there is a percentage of fans out there that right now are willing to say, oh, he's never going to win a Super Bowl, at least here in San Francisco. And my question is, why would you ever say that? Like, to me, that's the most preposterous thing to say. And also the reason I think it's, like, do you realize how small of a snippet 4 years is? Like, I understand, we've been trying to kick in the door 3 out of 4 years. Yeah, that's great. And go look at Pro Football Reference and look at all the years of football. And sometimes you win a wild card, lose a wild card, get to the NFC Championship, lose, win a Super Bowl, then lose in the first round, then get to the second round, and you look and you're like, we went to the playoffs 6 straight years and we won one Super Bowl. Like, who out there, who are these people that actually think they can make that statement right now that he ain't going to win it? He ain't going to win it here, because to me, that's preposterous.
Well, and I think if you have, I think there is evidence to suggest that you wouldn't feel confident in a big moment with Kyle Shanahan, but is there enough evidence to suggest that he can't win it as opposed to he can win it? Because the guy's won a lot of games. Right now, his postseason record is 6-3.
That's why he can win it.
However, I can throw back at you, and not just his time with San Francisco, but someone could throw the Super Bowl with Atlanta at you. Someone could throw the first Super Bowl with the Niners at you. Someone could throw the NFC Championship against the Rams at you. Someone could throw not throwing the challenge flag at you against Philadelphia last year. Like, there are moments in time throughout Kyle Shanahan's tenure as both the head coach and coordinator that might suggest that when moments get large, he might not be the guy.
Okay, well, then they're going to need to blow somebody out in the Super Bowl, which they might be able to do.
They could.
Okay. Then he's going to win Super Bowl.
Just like he blew out Minnesota on the way to the Super Bowl, just like he blew out Green Bay on the way to the Super Bowl. And then when they got in a tight game with the Kansas City Chiefs, didn't go his way.
Remember when Andy Reid was criticized? Andy Reid to this day is still criticized for his game management. How many Super Bowls does he have now?
He's got 2.
Only 2, huh? Feels like 3.
Well, I think he was with Green Bay when they won in the 90s. But
well, that doesn't count.
Okay.
Well, assistant coaches only count if it's Kyle Shanahan and he blew a Super Bowl as an offensive coordinator. 888-957-9570 is the number. I am interested to know because, and I also want to know who would put their name on it. Because I think it's a small percentage of fans that would actually go out on a limb and say that he ain't going to win it here. I mean, let me ask you this, Evan, and if you ask, hey, Steiny, I'll bet you right now Kyle Shanahan does not win a Super Bowl in San Francisco. Let me tell you something. My first automatic reaction would be, I'll take the bet. Or, no, I'm sorry. My first reaction would be like, I'm not taking the bet because I know how hard it is to win a Super Bowl and only one team and do the math. But if you ask me to bet right now, hey, Steiny, you think Kyle Shanahan will ever win a Super Bowl for the 49ers? I think I'm saying yes.
And
even though I would answer no to that question most for, let's say, 27 of 32 teams. So I kind of don't get it.
I'd be inclined to say no because statistics would tell you it's probably not going to happen. But I will say this. I think that Kyle Shanahan is in a group of 6 or 7 head coaches that I would label Super Bowl worthy. Like, there are some that have won Super Bowls. Obviously, we're talking about Reid,
right,
Belichick. McVay, Tomlin, John Harbaugh, Pete Carroll. But when Matt LaFleur had Aaron Rodgers and had a great roster, they might have been able to win a Super Bowl. Zach Taylor went to a Super Bowl with the Cincinnati Bengals in just his second year? Kyle Shanahan to me is on that, I guess, that second tier of guys that are brilliant, guys that can lead their teams, but have not yet won a Super Bowl. I think he is Super Bowl worthy. He just doesn't have one yet. And so that's why, as much as, I don't know, like the economics student in me would tell you, oh, well, he's got a 0.5 probability of actually winning a Super Bowl.
Sure.
I do think that Kyle Shanahan is, if you're looking at teams throughout the NFL that have a chance, you need a great head coach, need a good front office, need a great roster. I think the 49ers have all three of those things.
Steiny, how many bites of the apple do you think you get? Look at Buffalo. They never won. I can't disagree with that. Let's go to Ryan in San Jose. He says Shanahan can't win the big one. What's up, Ryan? How you doing, man?
Hey, it's great to be on.
Appreciate you, by the way.
Yes, absolutely. I would have to say, based upon what I've seen so far, I would say I would be on the side of I don't believe that he could win a Super Bowl, and I'm going to tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
Just as any other human being, I could only go by what I've seen with my own two eyes. But based upon what I've interpreted, based on his decision, whether it be in the draft, or obviously, in terms of him drafting a quarterback or passing on quarterbacks, such as in the 2017 draft class, I don't believe that he has the foresight in terms of picking, quarterbacks, especially, ones that have first-round talent, as well as him. Also, in big game, his management and decision-making has been extremely porous, whether it be in the NFC Championship game a couple years ago against the Rams. He made a lot of huge blunders in critical situations, as well as the Super Bowl. He totally choked and mismanaged that game. He choked against the Patriots when he was with the Falcons. I do believe that Shanahan is a good coach that can take you so far. Just go ahead.
Ryan, can he get better? Can he improve on some of those things to the point where he could win one?
I will say, I was just about to get to that. I am one of those people who believe that, based upon what I've seen so far, I would have to say no. But I will say there is a chance, and of course, as a 49er fan, I'm hoping that he can cross that bridge, but he can get better. But from what I've seen so far, I would have to say no.
All right.
Like I said, I'm hoping that I'm wrong. Yeah.
Let me tell you something about Ryan in San Jose. Now, that's a call. Why is that a call, you ask, Steiny? He just said that the reason it's a call is because he gave me a reason that I hadn't thought of, not me, but that a lot of people haven't thought about. Not one time have I heard a Kyle Shanahan or 49er fan say, one of the things I'm curious about, I'm worried about is, can Kyle draft? Can he draft a Super Bowl team, roster-wise? That is part of the equation that I think we probably overlook, E.
And I think he's checked just about every box of that draft class except for the most important one. And maybe that's the thing that's holding him back from being a Super Bowl winning head coach. The fact that he gets to make decisions that other head coaches do not. And the one place through his first 6 seasons that has become the most important position in all of American professional sports, he has not been able to properly identify.
Right.
And that's what has held him back.
Right.
Not his defense, not Nick Bosa.
Great point.
Not the running game, not his wide receivers, not even the offensive line that people continuously come down his road for, but the quarterback. That's why we talk about it all the time, because it's the one thing that the 49ers have needed, have had an absence of, and has held them back from winning a Super Bowl, which by extension has held Kyle Shanahan back from being a guy that, quote-unquote, can get it done.
You know what? I heard Dibbs and Willard yesterday. They were, if Sam Darnold comes in, your expectations change, and I'm kind of in the no. It doesn't. And, that's unusual. Yes, it is unusual. But that's part, you know what? And I think that's part of the equation that we cannot ignore. We cannot ignore it. And it's this. If we knew John Lynch ran the San Francisco 49ers, if we knew that, he were actually the GM making the decisions, and he handled the quarterback situation exactly like it's been handled, I think we would be like, wow, Kyle Shanahan, you are unbelievable. The issue, though, is John Lynch isn't making those decisions. It's Kyle Shanahan who's making those decisions. And he thought Garoppolo. And the move up to get Beathard, I could care less about because big deal. He takes a chance with a guy in the 3rd or 5th round or whatever it is. But then he identified, Garoppolo. Then he identified Lance. Then he identified Purdy. And so the reason that the quarterback position's so important is because he's in charge of the whole thing. The whole thing. He's not. John Lynch isn't saying, "Hey, I'm gonna get Garoppolo in here and you deal with him." No, like if Kyle Shanahan were just the coach of this team, I think we would look at him way different, as opposed to the overseer of the entire roster, especially the quarterback position.
And I think that's why there was a question asked to him about Jimmy Garoppolo, and he breaks down the timeline. Hey, we brought in Jimmy. Made him the highest paid quarterback ever. Very quickly. And then, within 2 years, clearly there's some sort of friction between Kyle Shanahan and Jimmy Garoppolo because of the way that Jimmy G's talking about him now, present day. So something happened after the Super Bowl. Probably the fact that Trey Lance was drafted or traded up for when you had a guy that had previously taken you to a Super Bowl. To me, Kyle Shanahan, I don't even know if he has enough faith or patience to stick with a Brock Purdy, if he is the franchise guy. Because if Brock Purdy shows regression this year, how do I know, based off of Kyle's track record, that he might just not move off of him next offseason because he saw something in, granted, a small sample size, that's football, but I don't know if, I think Kyle Shanahan is a great identifier of talent around the quarterback position. His track record shows that. But with the QB, I don't know if it's impatience, I don't know if it's arrogance, but there seems to be something missing that he switches on a dime with guys and they fall in and out of favor, and he seems to continue to just move on to the next. And he wins games. But in order to win a Super Bowl, it's clearly proven in the modern game that you need someone that is either, dependable, that you believe in, that you can groom and develop. And I just don't know if Kyle Shanahan, he hasn't shown to me to have the patience to do that with any guy yet.
888-957-9570 is the number. Steinmetz and Giddings with you today. What do you guys think about that? Is that a concern? I do think that the relationship between the coach and the quarterback's obviously hugely important. And if the coach is a jerk, he better be good. And I'm not saying Kyle Shanahan's a jerk, but is there something about his relationship with quarterbacks? What have we taken out of everything we've learned about Kyle for 6 years? I think it's fair to say he asks a lot of the quarterback position. And how about this? Is this fair to say about Kyle Shanahan? He hasn't yet found a quarterback that he thinks can run his system right.
Clearly not.
Or good enough. Good enough.
Clearly not. But I don't even know what that quarterback looks like.
I don't either.
Is it Matt Ryan? I mean, he won an MVP with him as the coordinator. Is it Jimmy Garoppolo? Well, it was. It was supposed to be Trey Lance. And look, I get it. You don't have time for a bad quarterback. You can't have one in your system that doesn't help you win. I understand that. But this has been 6 years that we've been talking about trying to identify a guy. So he brings in Jimmy, gives him a big deal. Okay, so he has the guy for them. Then there are other opportunities. If you don't want to draft a quarterback and take time to develop one, whether it's Kirk Cousins, whether it's Tom Brady, whether it's Aaron Rodgers, not all of them are attainable, but there are different names out there that you can go. If you really want a solidified, a concrete, productive quarterback, there were ones available. Either he didn't want them or they weren't acquirable.
Right.
So then you go through the draft. And yet each player so far that they have gotten through the draft, except for Brock Purdy, but he's still TBD, you have not either given enough time to, enough, I don't know, reps to, or you just made the wrong pick. It's like you've either way you slice it, you have misidentified that position, whether it's a veteran, whether it's a rookie. And so I don't even know what kind of quarterback. If you asked him today, what is your perfect quarterback? He might tell you Patrick Mahomes.
If you took Patrick Mahomes off the table,
no, but just
who
ask
would
him,
he want as quarterback?
What are the characteristics that you want in a quarterback? Because I don't think that there's a guy coming out of the draft that's probably going to have everything that Kyle Shanahan wants, and yet I don't know if there's enough time from Shanahan's track record to develop the player into that quarterback because he moves off of them too fast.
Interesting point.
He's trying to thread this needle, and I just don't know if the eye of that needle is too small for him.